Howdy guys, in today's video I wanted to show you all how I've connected a subwoofer and amp into my 2005 Ford Falcon Ba wagon. And this video I've decided to create by popular demand. A few people on Facebook were wondering how to connect a subwoofer and amp, and today I want to show how I've connected the factory stereo to the aftermarket subwoofer and amplifier just by including a very small line level converter. Now here we can see my setup. Behind the rear seats I've got the subwoofer and amp, and here I'd like to show you all the device that allows us to use the factory wiring and the factory stereo and connect the subwoofer and amp. So it's actually called a speaker to line level converter, and I bought this for about $16 from a local electronics store. And what it does is it allows you to connect the left side and the right side speakers and then convert them to an RCA signal. So here we can see the right hand side speaker I've wired into the two grey wires, and the two white wires here go to the left rear speaker. So that way, as the signal goes to the left and right rear speakers, it then gets converted to a RCA signal, which then we can connect with the red and white RCA cables all the way through to the actual amplifier. The amplifier then can go through and send the signal and the power to the subwoofer itself. And the amplifier will need a positive and a earth chassis and a signal wire to allow the amplifier to turn on only when the stereo is on. And then running the positive and the signal wires through from behind the seat along the side of the rear section here of the car, down the side paneling, and all the way across to the kick panel. Here we can see I've connected the signal wire to the fuse box, and then later in the video I'll show you all how I've taken that 12 volt positive wire out through into the engine bay. Okay, so now I'd like to start off by showing you all how to connect the speaker wires to the actual line level converter. So first we can start off by lifting up and removing the base bench seat. There's two clipping points, one on the left, one on the right. You can clip that upward and pull the bench seat forward to give you some cleared access and cleared room. And with that done, now we've got some access. We can see some of my excess wiring, but we want to remove this side bolster here, guys, to give us a room to connect to the speakers on the side. So select your luckiest finger, put it in the ribbon, and then pull that ribbon forward. That'll release the seat down. Awesome. So with the seat folded down, we want to get behind this side bolster. So right underneath, shove your head into the abyss, and you'll be able to see that there's a bolt, a 10mm bolt there that anchors the bottom of the bolster, and it slides upward and away. And now that it's away, throw it away and chuck chuck the bird at it. All right, and then now we'll be able to see how I've tucked away the line level converter and all of the excess speaker wiring. And there's a nice little cubby holder there from wherever I actually put the line level converter. So now with the converter out into the open, I'd just like to show you all a little closer how it works. There's some wires that control the actual unit. There's essentially four individual ones that we're interested for, two grey ones, two white ones, and then those are the ones that will convert to the RCA. So once you've connected your left and right speakers, then you'll be able to connect your red and white RCA cables. I'd just like to show you all the actual wiring side to the speakers a little closer. So here we can see I've got the grey wires. There's a negative and a positive, and the same for the white one, a negative and a positive. Now the grey ones I started for the right hand rear speaker. So here we can see I've extended the wires from the grey negative and positive going to the line level converter. I've extended those and actually connected them to the factory wiring plug that went to the original speaker. Here you can see that's the connector that goes to the speaker originally, and I've disconnected that from the actual speaker and then extended the wiring to then go and reach to the speaker and the extension wiring from the line level converter all in one to the factory positive and negative speaker connector. So I've essentially just poked a wire into the female factory wiring connector, and then pushed a male blade insert that then I ran to the actual speaker itself. So essentially you just need to connect to the positive and the negative of the speaker, and I didn't want to cut any factory wiring, so that's why I just connected to the factory loom there. And you want to do the same thing for the left rear speaker, and here I'm just demonstrating that I've ran the wire from behind the factory seats to the actual rear left speaker, and did the exact same thing, connected the positive and the negative of the white ones to the rear left speaker. With that done, I wanted to show you all that you can then go and tuck away all your speaker wiring and connect in your white and red RCA connectors. To keep things neat and tidy, what I did was I went and found this little cubby area behind the kind of locking mechanism here for the rear seat. I put the line level converter in there, and you know, it hasn't been rattling around or had any issues in the year and a half that I've had this setup. So I found I could tuck away all the excess RCA wiring behind that side bolster, and then the actual line level converter inside that cubby. With that done, we can go through and start to connect the next step, which is the earth or the chassis for the amplifier. So here I went and connected that earth from the amplifier to the bolt that's holding this seat belt to the actual chassis of the car. And I just loosened that bolt there, or I should say I loosened that nut for the seat belt, put the earth wire underneath, bolted it down, and that's the earth sorted. Next, we want the positive, and we'll be able to take the positive and the signal wire together from behind the rear seat here, tuck it underneath the rear bench. I put all the excess there under the bench, and then started to actually tuck the positive and that signal wire. I'm just using a very thin blue wire here, and tucking it underneath the side trim along the side of the car here. So I was able to loosen all of these trims and just tuck them underneath just by finger. And then once, you know, we could take away that side C pillar, tuck it underneath. Coming in from the front here, started to slide along underneath this section of the trim here. Now there are two screws here, 1 and 2. Once you loosen those, you'll be able to slide away that little kick panel cover, and then with this seal removed, the door seal, we can see I'd then taken through the positive and that signal wire and tucked it behind this kick panel here. Now what we want is every time the stereo turns on, so essentially anytime we put it into accessories or turn the car on, if we pull open this fuse cover, chuck it away, give that a bird. Here we can see, so this is that blue signal wire that I've taken from the back of the car, from the amplifier. We can see I've tucked it behind this kick panel, and I've tucked it over the top of the trim piece here. Now what you can do, there's a little, like a little plug, a plastic plug. Once you pull that out, you're then gonna get a little bit more slack in that kick panel. So I took that wire and actually connected it to a little, you know, select location here in the fuse box. Now if we go and use our KFC bookmark, our KFC taillet bookmark here, very fancy type, it'll then correspond and let us know where we can actually connect this wire so that we get a signal that will then turn on the amplifier only when, you know, there's the stereo that's turned on in the car. So here we can see the wire actually connected to, this is fuse location number, let's double check here with our handy owner's manual. We use that KFC bookmark again. And if we have a bit of a closer look, we will see this is the fuse box diagram, and on the left page, it's fuse number 12. Fuse number 12 is the navigation. Now my car, being an XT model, never came with any navigation features. However, actually tapping into the actual fuse number 12 location gives us a hot or a power only when the key is in the accessories or ignition positions. Now I'd like to just remove this little fuse tap connector that I've utilized here. And I ordered this from eBay. I'll put the link in the description below. What it does is it allows you to very easily and safely tap in to the factory fuse location and connect our signal wire. Now here we can see there are two fuses. There is the original 10 amp that's rated for the navigation circuit, and I've put in a lower amp fuse on top. So that's what's actually going to allow us to kind of piggyback and connect our blue signal wire and take that all the way to the amplifier. So very simply, you can just connect your signal wire, inside the actual fuse location there and push a fuse in. That will work, and I had used that for some time. However, I decided to go with these little piggyback connectors because one, to be a little cleaner, but mostly for the second reason of being safer. Now, anytime that I put my key into the accessories, that navigation circuit is live, which then sends the power through my signal wire here, down the car to the amplifier. This second wire we can see here, that red one, I've connected to the same circuit here, and that's actually powering my Bluetooth adapter. So anytime I, again, turn the car on or turn the accessories on, my Bluetooth adapter powers on at the same time. I can then connect my phone and listen to some music. So I'll put the link to that also in the comment section below. Here we can see I've actually gone through and taken the 12 volt positive cable from behind that kick panel all the way underneath the pedals, and there's a grommet that actually allows us to access the actual engine bay. I'd just like to show again that I have the 12 volt power cable from the side trim piece here behind the kick panel, and I've taken it through some factory locations so the pedals won't get in the way and nothing's going to get pinched on these cables. Okay, and now we can go put 4 fingers under here, flap the flap, and here I'd like to show you all that this is where the positive wire pokes out from the grommet. It's next to the brake booster, and here we can see I've run the cable along underneath everything here, put an inline fuse, cable tied that to the side, and then we can go connect to the positive. Now here I'd like to show that I actually didn't opt for the standard positive terminal of the battery. Normally we connect to that. However, I've found that underneath the fuse box relay cover there's actually a positive and a negative here, and I've tapped into that. So that way it's actually a lot more cleaner, tidier, there's less wires sticking out from the battery. And this works quite well. I've used it for 1.5 years and I had no issues so far. So again, with that wiring led along the side, you can just undo this 13mm nut. With that undone, you can put your positive cable underneath, put the nut down again, tighten it up, and that's your positive sorted. So guys, that's just about it really. And I find the 12 volt cable itself isn't touching anything, and no issues in this case. So once you've run it along under your dash, tucked everything around the side here, all that's left is to actually go through and connect the amplifier to the subwoofer with the positive and negative cable, so speaker cabling. Because we've got all of the positive, the earth and the signal wires sorted, this is going to be all that's remaining to connect the amplifier and give the signal to the subwoofer. You can just tuck all your excess cables away at this stage. And this is all of that wiring from the speakers, again also tucked into the side. And with that done, before we go and put everything back together, we can go through and connect that positive and negative from the amp and run that and connect that to the sub. With that done, I'd just like to show you all how I connected my amplifier, or mounted I should say, just with some simple Velcro. I found that was just my quick and simple. Once it's Velcroed to the carpet, doesn't go anywhere, and nice and simple, nice and easy. You can buy that kind of Velcro from like your local Spotlight and things like that. It's got some double-sided tape on one end. Alright, so that's let's go and test it. So that's really all that's left to do, make sure it's all working. So put it all into the accessories position, and once the stereo turns on, in this case we can see my Bluetooth connected to the phone, but you can test it on the radio as well. However, in this case, I'll switch from the FM to when you press the AM, it goes to the auxiliary mode, and that's how I've connected my phone. But I'd just like to show you all that with your subwoofer connected to the rear speakers, as you fade to the rear, you're going to get more bass, but in the middle and towards the front, you'll only actually get front speakers. So from basically in this adjustment, you can adjust how much bass you want from the subwoofer to be working, depending on your preference. You can actually adjust the bass up further and lower as normal, but I find keeping the bass at middle, the treble further up, and I usually end up having the actual bass or the fader slightly forward from the middle position. But as simple as that, you're able to connect a sub and amp to the factory radio. So here I've just got a copyright-free song from YouTube, connected through the Bluetooth adapter, link in the description, and beautiful. So it's very hard to tell the bass off my phone recording, but make sure at this stage just go test that it's all working. And beautiful. So again, very hard to tell. However, it's one of those things that as soon as you hear that bass, it's sweet, sweet music to the ears. Oh yeah. All right. So other than that, just go ahead and adjust the bass to your level of liking. So at this point, I'd like to demonstrate. If you have it further to the front, you'll only have the front speakers working and none of the subwoofer. As you go slightly further back, you'll catch a little bit more bass, and then all the way to the back is where the bass is strongest. So I like to normally leave it, around the middle or slightly forward. Awesome. But yeah, guys, I hope this video helps. It's such an easy thing to do. Don't need very many tools, and it really just rounds out the sound without having to, adjust and put in an aftermarket stereo. I mean, of course, you do get the benefits with aftermarket stereos of things like inbuilt Bluetooth and much more adjustment settings for bass and things like that. But at this point, feel free, you can go through and clean up, all the wiring. But yeah, just with a simple audio line level converter, a little speaker to line level converter, you're able to connect your amp and sub to the factory system. So at this point, we can go through and start to tuck up all the wiring. So all the wiring from the signal from the fuse box here, you can tuck in all your excess wiring back underneath the actual kick panel. You can go and install your side cover here, or I should say the actual fuse cover itself. Very nice. And then the actual door weather seal itself. So tuck in your wires, clean everything up, make sure it's not pinching on anything or poking out. You can push down this door seal here. I found there was a little bit of something I forgot to do first, was actually put this plastic plug into the kick panel to keep that tight. Then putting the fuse box cover in again. It's a little fiddly one-handed, but we got there. Chucking in your door sealing here, and with that done and the door seal pushed all the way down, we can go and reinstall these side trim pieces here, and then finally go and clean up all the wiring that sits behind this side seat bolster here as well. So really just making sure nothing's getting pinched. You can grab your side bolster, and it bolts down the bottom, of course. And there's at the top here, guys, a little clip-in type of plastic, what would you call that, L piece. So that goes and sits into that female location there, male to female. And very difficult to show, sorry, one-handed, but that just clips in from the top and then bolts in down the bottom. So I usually would just move that bench seat out the way slightly, start clipping in from the top, let that male fall into the female, and then beautiful, we can just go through at the bottom and bolt that down, that 10mm bolt down there, a little hard to see, but excellent. And with that done, I've fashioned an Noki strap from left to right to really hold the sub in place behind the seat, and I just anchor it to the little metal rings that actually clips and locks the rear seats in place. So from the front view here, we can see that I usually go and opt for a little Velcro couple of pieces of Velcro from left to right, and that way the Oki strap itself won't be sitting over the top of the actual subwoofer cone. And with that done, that's about it. You know, you can go through and install the rear bench seat. Just lift up the seatbelt holster, you know, buckle there, slides in, and then just pushes straight down. Again, clipping on one point here, and and then on the other side on the far end of the bench seat. Awesome, guys. So it's as simple as that, you know, just clean up all your wiring, clip everything down, and you'll be able to connect your subwoofer and amp to the factory stereo. So guys, I hope my video today helps anyone out there that's a little lost as to how to install a subwoofer and amp onto the factory radio. There's not much involved, as we can see, so I really hope this video helps. And don't forget, as always, you got to flick something for luck. So today, let's go flick the subwoofer for luck. Cheers, guys. So yeah, really wanted to just share my process, and feel free to let me know, as always, if this video helped. Cheers, guys. Catch you guys on the next one.